Let me start with the most obvious one when I looked at your 53-man roster projection. You got the Saints keeping 4 quarterbacks. What what in the world? Like, how can they find a spot for Tommy Stevens on this roster?
They always find a couple of spots for basically redshirt freshmen, and that's kind of what I'm projecting with him. I mean, I can't imagine them passing him through waivers after what they went through to get him, trading away a future draft pick to steal him away from the Panthers. They know the Panthers want him. They know the Panthers are a rebuilding team. So unless they somehow decide over the next 30 days that they don't like the guy anymore, they'd be giving him back to the Carolina Panthers if they didn't reserve a spot for him. So I don't expect him to be active on game day, but I think as long as they possibly can until injuries make it impossible, I think they'd love to try and redshirt him with one of those end of the roster spots that we've seen them do with young guys in the past.
So if they do that, it comes at what expense on the roster? Meaning, what position don't they keep a guy to be able to keep a 4th quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't come at the expense of a specific position. It comes at the expense of another player like that. An undrafted young receiver that they may have liked, or an undrafted young offensive lineman that they may have liked. There were a couple of guys that gave like $100,000 guaranteed salaries to, so they like them. So that's what they're going to have to weigh. Do they like their guy that they traded next year's 6th-round pick? It would probably be him versus other. I'll tell you one example. A guy I kept on my roster is a guy named Ethan Greenidge, who was an undrafted rookie offensive lineman who never played for them last year, but they, saved a spot for him all of last year, and he was just inactive every week. That's the type of guy he's competing against.
Where do you see Ironhead shaking out in this thing?
I like his chances quite a bit. The physical pound at running back has really become a thing of the past.
Well,
I think
it looks
the Saints
like
are going to try to.
Listen, Mike, let's be honest. The fullback position has all but disappeared in the NFL. And
Exactly.
I know you say running back, but I mean, let's go. This guy's got a skill set that just tells me block, block, block. If you need 2 or 3 yards at the end, he can probably give it to you. I mean, listen, just outside looking in, and I'm not the Saints expert, but wouldn't you want a guy like that on your 53 that can maybe get you 2 or 3 tough yards? If you're on the goal line, maybe punch one in?
If I could go back in time and keep Ironhead on this roster, he'd make my 53 a revolutionary 21st century football be damned.
I warned you, Mike. I warned you. I warned you.
What is funny, though, I think he's doing his research because I picked, for the first time ever, no fullbacks on my projected 53-man roster.
That is odd, obviously, with Zach Lyne's retirement. Yeah, go ahead.
Buford Jordan as well, though. Like, why wouldn't you could keep a Buford Jordan? I think he could fill that role. I mean, I don't know.
Mike Triplett is our guest. His credibility waning with every passing second that he stays on the show. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett. 5 receivers. The most interesting one that you have the Saints keeping is Krishawn Hogan. So why Hogan instead of Emmanuel Butler, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Marquez Callaway, Austin Carr, Tommy Lee Lewis? I mean, Maurice Harris, who's a veteran. I mean, there's a lot of more recognizable names. So why Hogan?
Well, a couple of things. I love Emmanuel Butler. I'm not giving up my belief that he could be something special, and I had him on there. And then when I kept Ty Montgomery, who's basically a running back / receiver, I decided I had to let Emmanuel Butler go. But all those names you just mentioned, I said it's the hardest position to project. All those guys have a chance for a 5th or 6th receiver spot. I went with Hogan though because Hogan's the guy they went with last year. They brought in Hogan midseason. And then he kind of leapfrogged Emmanuel Butler and Lil Jordan Humphrey because they like him as a blocker and they like him on special teams. And that was at one of 3 or 4 spots where I leaned toward a special teams guy because remember they're going to have 2 extra players available on game days every week this year. And they're going to want those guys to have something to do. So I think special teams will weigh even more heavily. That's why I kept a guy like Dwayne Washington as an extra running back, and Johnson Batamosi as an extra defensive back because those guys have played a lot of special teams for him.
This offensive line's got to do something special this year, keeping Drew Brees upright. Look, what about Cam Tom? What do we do with this guy?
Oh, look at that! A real question.
I thought for sure I was going to get a Will Clapp question. So you
see that?
Again.
Keep you guessing.
I went with Will Clapp I went with Will Clapp over Cameron Tom, two guys who pretty much play the same positions as guards/centers. But yeah, I mean, that's another one. I thought Cameron Tom had almost a chance to win a starting job last year. And I think when they put him on injured reserve at the beginning of the year, it wasn't necessarily an injury he couldn't come back from, but it was just a way to keep him on the roster. So it's kind of a make or break all season for him, and probably a shame that he won't be able to have preseason games to prove himself. But that's another spot where that's one of the spots where they paid some of these undrafted rookies, Calvin Throckmorton, Jordan Steckler, pretty good money. But when it came time to projecting a 53-man roster, I kind of stuck with the guys who've been around, like Will Clapp and Nick Easton, and a veteran like a James Hurst or a Patrick Omame, because the young guys aren't going to have a lot of opportunities to prove they're ready to play in the NFL yet, unfortunately.
Mike, Matt fed me that last question. I absolutely had no idea. I didn't know that. It sounds like some sort of candy.
Cameron Tom, by the way. Calico!
No, get out of here.
Yes. Catholic High, the Southern Miss, went undrafted. Saints picked him up, paid him a lot of money as an undrafted free agent, but unfortunately got hurt last year.
He should donate some of that back. Bruin Club.
Maybe he has.
Maybe he has. Hey, Mike, though, I got a serious question.
Oh, Jesus.
No, don't we want to do more 8th and 9th offensive lineman questions?
No,
I think that is. See, I'm a nerd, Mike, and I think those are serious, and I enjoy those questions.
I like Mike. He's got a little
bit in there.
He's got a little something to him. Good. This isn't. This is good. What about the defensive back that basically lost the Super Bowl for the Saints a few years ago? What was his name? That tackled the ghost?
Well, you're talking about from the Rams?
He tackled the ghost.
No,
the Saints guy.
I think
you're
talking
talking
about the Minneapolis Miracle.
Yeah, who's that guy?
Oh,
Who's
that's
that guy?
2 years ago. That was Marcus Williams.
Does he still play for the Saints?
Oh, yes, he plays for the
How
Saints.
the hell does he still have a job, Mike? He lost a Super Bowl for him.
It was a divisional round playoff game.
Yeah, they were going to win the Super Bowl. They were set up to go.
I'm not so sure about that.
So tell me about that guy. Is he there still? Like, is he any good, or what's the deal?
No, again, you have definitely identified one of the bigger guys to watch on the Saints this year. He is this is a big make or break season for him. Heading into the final year of his contract. Look, like, there's two ways you can go with Marcus Williams. A lot of fans still down on him for that, and he has had a few tackling woes, high-profile tackling woes. But at the same time, these analytical services like Pro Football Focus rated him as one of the highest safeties in the league last year. And there's a reason why the Saints' pass defense has been really, really much improved the last 2 years. When you're doing things like sacking Matt Ryan 8 times in Atlanta last year, it's because somebody's holding down the back end of the defense. You're not noticing what he's doing right on those plays, but they're not getting beat off over the top as much. But he plays one of those positions like kicker where you obviously notice when he does something wrong. But I think he is going to have a breakout year if he's going to be one of the guys that gets another contract beyond this year, because they're going to have a lot of tough financial decisions to make after this season.
Mike Triplett, ESPN.com, Saints beat writer. His projected 53-man roster is out. Also another great piece on this camp storylines to watch. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Mike Triplett, or get to ESPN.com and read his stuff. Mike, last thing for you. What was the toughest cut for you?
We already mentioned Emmanuel Butler. I wanted to find room for him because I think I loved his potential so much, and I was so surprised he never got an opportunity last year. I think one of the last things I did was take him off and put Ty Montgomery on, because Ty Montgomery can be, I mean, at his peak, Ty Montgomery could be a guy who plays a ton of snaps for this team, catches 35, 40 passes like we saw Traveris Cadet do, and be, quote-unquote, a sixth wide receiver. So that was actually the last thing I did. I also thought a lot of the defensive backs were really tough to decide between. I had them cutting Saquon Hampton, who was a 6th-round draft pick last year. He's a guy easily could have put on there.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.